Hey guys, welcome back for another video. Today we are taking a look at BakuTech. This is the Japanese exclusive Bakugan series. So the original series, Battle Brawlers, was fairly popular, ran till 2009, and the series is still going strong today on its third generation, which just recently launched. So I thought it would be appropriate time to go take a look at the Japanese exclusive BakuTech. The original manga launched in 2010 in Koro and ran for 10 volumes over 4 years, which is pretty substantial. The anime launched in 2012 and ran for a little over 50 episodes at about 5 minutes in length per episode. BakuTech largely abandons the fantasy element that was super prevalent in Battle Brawlers and focuses more on sort of the competitive hobby aspect of the toy line. There's less focus on like the gate cards and the ability cards from the previous season, and focuses more on the actual physical technical skill of actually shooting the Bakugan. The objective is still to win 3 gate cards, but in the show it's way more about trying to KO the other person's Bakugan off of the gate card, or double standing or doing trick shots to get around the Bakugan. The toy design reflects this as well, with some of the Bakugan clearly being designed for defense, others for KOs, and so on and so forth. The high stakes from the previous series is pretty much gone. There's no giant sentient monsters anymore, there's no alternate dimension. It's really just about playing with the Bakugan competitively. And while the main focus isn't on sort of the gate card effects and the ability effects, those are still present in the game if you and an opponent lands on the same card. The anime itself is pretty lighthearted and has quite a few gags in it. It's kind of unassuming, there's nothing too crazy going on, and it doesn't take itself too seriously, which I think works with the 5-minute runtime. If you guys feel like checking it out, there is a sub for it. I'll link down below where you guys can check it out if you feel like it. For the rest of this video, we're going to be taking a look at the toys and why I think it's some of the best Bakugan that we've got. They're definitely the most engineered. You can tell that the designers took a lot of time sort of incorporating some of the elements that they wanted to focus on in the gameplay. For example, some of them have different weight distribution. For example, this one is pretty bottom heavy when it's open on the gate card, which helps with defense. This one, for example, is pretty low as well, and sort of angled to try to deflect Bakugan off of the gate card when trying to attack. It's also got a pretty wide spread when it pops open to potentially scoop opponents off of the gate card when you're the one attacking. While I've never been particularly good at shooting Bakugan, I have seen some Japanese players do some pretty impressive trick shots with these. To further add to this strategy, they also incorporated removable metal bits that you could get from various different Bakugan, and you could sort of combine them together to create either a really heavy Bakugan, or you could offset the metal to create sort of an off-balance Bakugan to make things like curve shots a little bit easier. I don't know, I thought it was a really cool feature for them to add. BakuTech is technically the second generation of Bakugan, and it feels like they did a lot to progress the toy line forwards, and sort of in recent years it feels like it's kind of regressed backwards. Like, I'm not gonna say that Spin Master hasn't done anything positive with the franchise in the Western release of like Gen 2 and going into Gen 3, but I don't know, it feels like a lot of it has taken a step backwards. Like, some of the modern designs look pretty good, but a lot of them are just really, really basic. There's not a lot of detail going on. It's honestly, if it didn't have a picture on the front of the box, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell what the heck it's supposed to be. Like, some of them just don't resemble anything. It just looks like chunks of plastic popping out of it. I think it was a good idea to try to go the TCG route, but since they dropped it, the game really kind of feels purposeless, like it doesn't know what it's doing. I think if Spin Master isn't going to do the TCG, then they should just go back to the legacy gameplay. I think incorporating all of these new sort of gimmick gameplay elements doesn't do anything. I don't think anybody is particularly excited about Beyblade Bakugan. BakuTech's focus on sort of the skill aspect of Bakugan, I think, lends itself really well to sort of solo play, because you can practice trick shots, you can practice KOs, you can practice different strategies and different weight distributions on the Bakugan itself. I think that was a really smart decision, and I think it's one of the reasons why BakuTech was more popular in Japan than Bakugan, Battle Brawlers. Ironically, the new split system that they're introducing in Gen 3, where you can split the Bakugan in half and sort of combine it with different Bakugan, is something that they incorporated in BakuTech. I'm not sure what the logistics were at the time that BakuTech released, and I'm not sure why we didn't get it in the West. I want to say I remember something happening between sort of the distribution in the West and licensing rights in Japan, and there was a reason why it didn't come over to the West, because the Japanese market still had it. But I think it's interesting that they're sort of pulling this gimmick element from BakuTech. I don't think that incorporating the ripcord battling thing with the next gen of Bakugan is a great idea, with Beyblade X coming to the West next year. I do like that they incorporated the two halves thing from BakuTech, though. I just wish the modern designs and the gameplay of modern Bakugan had a little bit more focus and direction. I know their target demographic probably isn't an older audience, but even kids are capable of playing a little bit more complex of a game than just spinny Bakugan. But I digress. This is less a video about modern Bakugan and more just taking a look at BakuTech and everything it did right. I'm interested to know what you guys think of BakuTech as far as design goes. If you guys have seen the show, I'm interested to know what you think of that. I've watched a few episodes. I think it's all right. Again, it's sort of short and sort of doesn't take itself too seriously, but I kind of like the direction of it. I like that it's bite-sized. I definitely don't think that the direction of the BakuTech anime would warrant a sort of 20-plus minute episode length. But the designs of the BakuTech themselves and the whole system, I think, is really well thought out, and I think they did a really great job. Personally, I think some of the designs are probably the best designs of any of the Bakugan that we've got, especially as far as the toy line is considered. Obviously, like the Legacy series and the newer series, like there's sort of the corresponding giant monster in the anime that gives it a little bit more presence. But as far as the actual toys go, I think BakuTech probably looks the best. And I think the setup of it sort of focusing on the competitive aspect really lends itself well to a toy that can be played by yourself, because it's so heavily focused on launching and trick shots and curve shots and double stands and KOing. Like, it's something that you could sit down and practice in your room and feel like you've actually got some use out of the toys. Whereas I feel like with the modern games, you kind of buy them and look at them, maybe you roll them a couple times, and that's about it. Like, how many people actually play any of the Bakugan game modes, especially with the TC being dropped and Legacy sort of being up in the air? There's not really a way to play with it by yourself. Anyway, again, I'm interested to hear your thoughts. I appreciate everybody stopping by and watching. If you don't mind hitting that like button, I'd appreciate it, and subscribe for future content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.